Alright, so this is going to be my review of Sleepy Hollow Season 2, Episode 2, The Kindred. Sounds like a Shyamalan movie when you think about it. Anywho, so this episode is pretty much all about Ichabod and Abby trying to get Katrina away from the Horseman of Death, Abraham. And it goes as well as you think it does. Now, let's get into this. I really like this episode because I'm a big fan of anything to do with Frankenstein. And what they do, they don't really exactly do Frankenstein stuff. They do Franklinstein, which is something they use, an actual word they use in the episode, which I'm actually kind of glad they have. Anywho, so pretty much they're trying to devise a plan. But before you get to that, Ichabod discovers that, there's going to be some kind of ritual that, Abraham's going to use to bond Katrina to him because she's supposed to be the bride of the horseman. And he finds out from Ben Franklin's book that there is a thing called the Kindred, which was made up of dead revolutionary soldiers, and it was supposed to be like a Frankenstein monster to fight and combat the Horseman of Death. That's what it was meant to be. It was supposed to be his equal. It was meant to be like it was going to break him. But it didn't really pan out because what was needed was a piece of the horseman. Well, it just so happens that they still have the horseman's head. While this is going on, Abby meets up with the new sheriff, pretty much, the new leader of the Sleepy Hollow PD. And she was someone who worked on Abby's mother's case, who was clearly insane. Also, $20 says that this woman, whose name I've completely forgotten, turns out to be working for Moloch. $20 says that's going to be the case. Anyway. So, following that, she pretty much says, look, it's just fear everywhere. It's all about fear. All about that, and, we're gonna, bring some sanity back into Sleepy Hollow. And we're all like, you don't know. Or maybe you do know that, maybe I'm still going with the theory that maybe she's an agent of Moloch. I'm gonna go with that theory until proven otherwise. So, yeah, so Abby gets to talk with the former Sheriff Irving, who, as you guys remember from the last episode, was arrested, and he was pretty much arrested for protecting his daughter, who was possessed by a very powerful demon, and he said that I killed those people, not my daughter who was possessed. So he gets to talk to her, and he gets to talk to Abby, and he pretty much tells Abby, I put the head in a bank. I put the head away in a bank, and it's safe there. Meanwhile, we also have Jenny, Abby's sister, packing up weapons and preparing to meet them at their HQ. However, the sheriff finds the guns and arrests Abby on, possession of illegal firearms. This completely shit-cans the entire plan, or at least shoots him in the leg. There's also a very funny scene with Ichabod in the bank when they're going to get the horseman's head to use it to awaken the Kindred. There's a very funny scene in there where he's talking to one of the people trying to sell him a credit card, and Ichabod is not having it. I even love how he looks at the pen with the chain attached to it. You know how it. If you've ever been into a bank, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you, if not all of you, have been in. You know how that you got those pens with the chains on it, and it just irritates the shit out of you. So I love Ichabod's expression to holding that pen. He's just like, God damn it. Oh, that is too funny. So yes, they get the head, and meanwhile, Abraham is still trying to get Katrina to fall in love with him because he has that illusion to allow her to see his head and allows her to communicate with him. And Katrina's not falling for it. She's like, nope, not gonna happen. But we get back to Abby and, but however, Abraham does say something like, how long did he let you suffer in purgatory, and how long, and yet it took him only a few hours to just go nuts and get Abby, whereas, he left you behind, he really tries to screw with Katrina's head, And Katrina, once again, I'm going to go with my good friend Melina Pendulum and what she says. You are a witch! Do something! You're on Earth. Your powers are supposed to come back, right? As I remember, the whole thing with the whole witch things of her coven, that the Earth gave them power, right? And, do something. Don't... Shoot an energy blast. Hex him. Turn his penis into a frog. I don't know. Do something. Do something. Oh my god. I'm starting not to like Katrina so much. In the first season, I was kind of ambivalent with her because, she was in purgatory. She was, the girl. She was the woman that not Abraham. Well, he did love her, but it was Ichabod's wife. He had to go get her. And now she's out, and she still does nothing. It's been 2 episodes. Well, I know it's been only 2 episodes, but I'm like, you should at least have some kind of power. I digress. So meanwhile, we have other scenes where Henry, Horseman of War, and Ichabod and Katrina's son, is constructing what looks like a weird pen when he gets a message from Moloch, and Moloch pretty much tells him, look, you better get your shit together and, get your shit together and fix this, because I'm gonna raise hell on Earth. I'm gonna be the Lord of. I'm gonna rule over Earth. Lucifer can have hell. I want that Earth. I want that Earth. So Henry's like, okay, I gotta finish this pen, and then I'll gear up for war and shit like that. So, and then we cut back to Ichabod and Abby, who are going around the tunnels looking for the body of the Kindred, which was left behind by Ben Franklin, to obviously, reawaken the Kindred and then you sick him on the Horseman. So so they managed to find the body after. There's actually a really interesting scene where they run into some bats, which we saw in the first episode of the second season, and I'm kind of wondering, is that gonna be a running thing, like in Doctor Who? They have one thing in there. Abby saw bats in Purgatory, so are we going to see more of these bats show up in... are we going to see more of these bats, like, kind of hint or build to something? I don't know. I've been watching too much Doctor Who to look at... You always have to look at the little things. Then again, I should have looked at the little things and realized, oh, John Noble's a bad guy in this season. Then again, John Noble plays a villain and everything else, but yeah, that's not the point. Also, side note, in the past 2 episodes of Sleepy Hollow, we've seen more bats in here than we have in Gotham. Buzzing! I'm sorry, I just wanted to point that out, that we've seen more bats in here than a show about Batman. It's a joke. It's a little joke. Anywho, so Ichabod manages to raise the Kindred with the Horseman's head, and those two go off on have this really cool fight. Those two, like I said, go blow for blow, and then in comes Henry with his new war horseman type body. They start wrecking shit, and the Kindred was like, shit, I wasn't prepared for this. So he's trying his best to fight both of them, and for what it's worth, I do like the fight with the Kindred battling both death and war. I really like that fight sequence between the two. So that was really cool. And meanwhile, Abby then jumps in to help the Kindred battle the 2 horsemen, because obviously he's going to get overwhelmed. But meanwhile, while this is going on, Ichabod goes in to save Katrina, and Katrina's all like, but I'm going to stay here. I'm going to be your mole. I'm going to convince Abraham loves me. I mean, I love Abraham and care for him, and stay here and then give plans to you guys. And I'm here thinking, yeah, this is not going to backfire at all. In no way is this going to backfire. I know better. I know so much better to know that this plan is not going to work. With this show's track record of being it, obviously the bad guys get every big victory. So yeah. So as much as it pains Ichabod, he and Abby run off and leave Katrina behind for Abraham, and the Kindred also takes off. It runs away, doesn't return with Abby and Ichabod. Instead, it runs off, fleeing into the night, and is not seen. So it's still out there, with the Horseman's head as its own head. So yeah, Ichabod goes back with Abby and says like, "Look, Katrina's now our mole. You know, there's another force of good or evil out there, and we created a monster, but we shouldn't do that again." Because again, it's Katrina is pretty much Ichabod's weakness. Then again, it is his wife that he loves, and yeah. But I just see bad thing. I see a bad things. I see a bad things arising, as the Clearwater Cadence Revival once said in one of their verse. I think that's how the song went. At least I think that's how the song went. Anywho, let's move on to the final piece that made me go, oh crap. So, pretty much, Irving has been sent to an asylum because he pretty much says in a lie detector test, yeah, there's a demon that killed him. He pretty much tells the truth, but they obviously think, nah, that he's just trying to get off it crazy. And the police chief is just like, you know what, I'll see you get the best treatment, from pills to electroshocks to all that good shit. So he's transported there, and obviously he's in restraints, and the police chief's there, and she's like, well, I don't enjoy this. And then in comes Henry Parrish pretending to be the Irving's new attorney. And Irving doesn't know that Henry Parrish is on the dark side, so he ends up signing a contract and accidentally cuts himself on the pen that he was designing earlier, and yeah, he has pretty much unknowingly sold his soul to the devil. He has sold his soul in a contract in his own blood, and he had no idea. I feel so bad for Irving. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. Very straightforward, a lot of action in it. I'm like I said, I'm convinced the new police chief's in on it somehow. I'm convinced she's working for Moloch. I'd be surprised if she didn't. And the whole thing with Irving, I feel so bad for him, because again, it was just a guy trying to do things for his daughter, and now war has another victim. And I'm really curious to see what they do with the Kindred. But yeah, really love this episode. I thought it was really good. What did you guys think? Comment below in the comments below. I'm really curious to know what you guys think of all this. And yeah, I will see you guys later.